It's 5 months now since the Supreme Court criticised Rishi Sunak's Rwanda bill, and Rishi Sunak committed to making changes and passing legislation to decree that red is blue, that Rwanda is safe, no matter what evidence might be proposed to contradict that statement. Meanwhile, the Rwanda bill has crept through Parliament very slowly, much more slowly than I think he anticipated. So the first flights are poised to take off. A plane has been found, apparently. An airstrip is prepared. And a huge number of lawyers and courts are primed to be on hand to meet the challenge of criticism and legal questions. It's extraordinary that there can be so many lawyers found and so much legal time available when the courts are otherwise crammed full and important cases are snagged in a blockage, are caught in a limbo not dissimilar to the limbo facing people who have come here in small boats and are now stacked in hotels at great expense. One of the things that the Sunak government has announced today is that they have no intention of taking back refugees or migrants who have escaped from British territory into Ireland. They think that it is comparable to sending migrants back to France. Well, yes, I suppose it is. The point about migrants being sent to France is once they've crossed the border, they are, I suppose, our property and our problem. And once they have appealed for asylum in our country, then we must deal with them. If they then go on to appeal for asylum in Ireland, the question would be, should they be returned to the first place that they appealed for asylum? Well, clearly not, because the Dublin III Protocol no longer works. In this, I'm afraid the British government is right. It seems morally inappropriate. It seems to send out the wrong signal, both to France and to Ireland. But in terms of the plain law, there can't be two standards. The much better agreement would be a global meeting, a conference to redefine the terms of migration, to redefine the terms of granting asylum, and to make it appropriate to the situations that we find ourselves in the 21st century, when the world powers are in chaos, when we are on the cusp of probably some of the largest migrations of people, should the Ukraine war go wrong, that we have seen in the West to date. And we are unprepared for this, utterly unprepared for this. And there's no point our saying the drawbridge has been pulled up, the portcullis has been racked down. It will mean nothing. More people will come in small boats, and we will be forking out more money to put them in hotels while we pretend that we're going to send them to Rwanda at great expense. It's a meaningful, it's a meaningless deterrent. And we've had deterrents before. And this is the uncomfortable reality. We have had deterrents before. And in the 1830s, it was considered a deterrent to send someone to prison, partly because the conditions in prison were designed to be as uncomfortable as possible. That was supposed to act as a deterrent. Of course, it didn't work. The prisons were full to overflowing, and particularly the debtors' prisons were seen as simply a way of life. You only have to read Dickens to see the reality of that deterrent. It didn't work. Deterrents don't work. If somebody is prepared to risk their life to do something, putting them in prison, sending them to Australia, sending them to Rwanda, is not a deterrent. It's part of the routine problems that are faced. In the end, when it comes to migration, nothing is worse than leaving your home and leaving your country and leaving your family. If the government, in its sage absurdity, thinks that going to Rwanda is a fate worse than death, well, among other things, I think the government has clearly not thought twice about the Rwandan tourist industry, which must be decimated by the present government's assurances that Rwanda is a deterrent. But there we are.